There he
Hey,
is.
there he is.
Captain Kirk.
Hey, doing?
What city in Oklahoma are you in right now, big guy?
I am in Yukon, Oklahoma.
Okay. It's kind of deceptive. I think Yukon, Alaska.
Yeah, is that in the northern part of Oklahoma at least?
Yeah,
Does it make sense in that way?
Basically, think of a suburb outside of Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
Are you from Detroit? Is that how we know you? Have I met you? I don't know. Are you from this area though? You moved out there?
This is 20 questions. Go.
I'm around Michigan there. I mean, I've been there, 16, 17 years. I just came out to Oklahoma now because I had a great opportunity and things going on.
Oh.
So Kirk's been on the making good edibles, higher end kind of infused foods, since the beginning of this whole thing has been doing it ever since. So 2008 rolled around, he was right involved in all the action that was taking place and helping people out significantly, really helping people out with conditions and himself, because he utilizes cannabis as a medicine. And he's been a huge activist, and he's been involved in kind of like the business side of stuff. And, he's been very much immersed in all things in Michigan for years, and has won several cups, several contests with his creations.
Key lime pie, baby. Yeah.
Cheesecake.
I'm
Yeah.
actually ready to make some key lime pops for an event this weekend.
Nice.
Oh, man. Yep.
And so anyway, just he's recognized all over for doing this, and has decided to take the show to Oklahoma, where there's a lot of activity going on. We want to hear about that and how that went down and everything, and what you were now doing.
Here is going very well. I got involved with some great people, partners that I've been invested with for about 4 years now. That I met out in Pennsylvania when Michael Toohey and I went out there and did a speaking engagement. And then after years, it's built up, and now I'm about to have a 2,000-foot kitchen and everything. And, down here, the kitchen was supposed to be done, but like everything, stuff wasn't done in time, and that's okay. We got about 3 weeks to go. But everything's looking great. The build out's great, and trying to do everything like everyone's doing there, legal and staying within the law, and everything's metric here now. It's went metric. So we've had practice with that back home.
These will be Captain Kirk branded products?
Yes, everything
Nice.
will.
Still going to use the Detroit Pistons logo,
awesome.
man? The color scheme?
Actually, when that actually came about, some people said it was from the Who, some people said the Pistons, some people said, what you were talking about. But actually, it came about when I was watching a Stan Lee interview where he was talking about Captain America and how it brought back an America like
Shield.
So that's actually where that came from. So we switched a few things up, added a black line, and made sure that we weren't infringing on any trademark things like that. And then we had it trademarked, and now I'm good to go.
So that's going to continue to be your scheme then, right?
Probably for right now, unless somebody walks in with a lot of money and says, well, this isn't right or something like that, or shows me a better way. But I'm going to stick with that way because it's worked for me so well, the branding has. So.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
What are your main products? Do you do sweets, or do you do sauces, or do you do private events?
We do a little bit of everything. We make sure that we cover diabetics. We do a lot of working with kids. The newest thing that we've been doing is, and something that we're working on now, is kind of like MRE EDs, to where you can add hot water and have an instant meal right there. So we do instant soup,
Oh, right on.
Doughs, ice cream, all freeze-dried stuff, to where we're now given a shelf life of everything to anywhere from 10 to 15 years.
Wow.
And no dispensary has to worry about refrigeration, anything going bad
That's
on
amazing.
the freezer, anything like that.
Well, in Michigan, it has to have at least a 20-year shelf life.
Right.
That's longer
Well-
than most of the businesses will stay in business.
Yeah.
20
Well,
years.
and I feel like you guys should be advertising on like apocalypse bunker websites. Like
Hey, have
you need
contact-
freeze-dried weed food in your bunker.
Oh, yeah.
when-
Preppers will love
yeah,
it.
Yeah,
the
militia, man.
preppers.
The preppers like it, especially with the CBD. So that's been a big hit.
I will
Nice.
be ordering from you
Yeah.
for sure.
We've even
Kirk, are
done
you?
kind of like a top ramen that you just fill the hot water to a cup. And then, you've heard of Mrs. Stash. Well, I got Mr. Stash. That's a seasoning salt that we've medicated and had for years and years. Jamie and Rick are familiar with that.
Mhm.
Then you add it in there, medicated, and have instant,
I still have some of that Jamaican
I love
flavoring
that.
at my house here. It's pretty amazing.
Sure.
Kirk, is Oklahoma allow you to produce THC edibles as well as CBD edibles?
with as long as you have the licensing correct. You do have to have the process and license, which I have and everything right now.
Cool.
Are we actually at this very moment producing the THC stuff? Not at this moment, just making sure the kitchen, and I want everything legal beagle before. I don't want nobody knocking on my door going, hey, I don't need no
Hey.
Couple extra days or a week or two to make sure that you're totally compliant is completely an investment worth making.
Yes, I would say a week or two is probably a best way of saying, yeah, we're good to go then, and we're good to go now. But again, I want to make sure all those dots and T's are crossed and, lined up, because I've learned so much from Michigan in doing things that don't jump the gun. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's great. So you want to give some accolades to your partner in this whole situation here?
Actually, my parts are the, where'd she go?
Yeah, there's.
And the Mad Hatter, right? And
Hatter's.
yeah, it's Hatter's.
There you go.
Please excuse me, because I've got like a list of 15 names in me for an event this weekend. Hatter's Stash, and what was the other one?
Meridian.
Yeah, it's the Meridian Group and Hatter's Stash.
I was actually talking about Brandy, but you can ignore her at your own peril. It's a bad idea, but
She's here. She's in the background there.
okay.
She's actually taking care of some
We'll
stuff.
talk about that later.
So you guys traveled from Michigan to Oklahoma just within the last couple of weeks, the last few days. And upon your arrival, you leave the trailer full of your stuff out on the street, presumably, going to load it in the next day or whatever. And
Happened. As of 2 weeks ago today, we arrived here at 3:30 in the afternoon. Would have been about 4:30 your time. Pulled into the neighborhood. They didn't have the house yet finished painting. We're looking around. We're seeing all these expensive trailers with mowers and camping
Oh shit.
hook up things next to us. Like, hey, we've been dragging this trailer all across from Michigan. We're going to go stay at some friends tonight. We'll drop it off. Painter comes up. He's asking us all kinds of questions. We didn't really think much about it. Blah, blah, blah. We leave at about 9 o'clock that night. We come back at 8:20 in the morning, and Brandy's like, where's the trailer? It's gone. So that was as of tomorrow. It'll be 2 weeks ago. They took every single thing that we own, all our personal stuff, all my High Times mementos, posters, anything that I had saved or had, or roller skates, the ukulele, all the
Motorcycle.
I'm going to replace the ukulele.
Oh my
for-
God,
have a
that's so
ukulele for you.
sorry.
the Harley, but with all this happening to us, it made us stronger, and we've been very blessed from
Wow.
my end there in Michigan, and here in Oklahoma. Some friends came from my youth that I went to high school with and brought stuff up and came and loaded and brought clothes and some, dishes and towels and stuff. So we got through, and now our house is, we're good to go and moving on. And again, it was a lot of personal stuff that
Irreplaceable.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And the sad thing about
And if
you'll forget about it for a little bit, then you'll be like, oh shit, excuse my language. Oh shucks, I left that in the truck, and you get mad all again, then you get depressed, and then you're all right for a little bit, and then you think of something else you left in there. The sad thing is they got all our birth certificates, passports,
oh my gosh.
information on the kids, everything.
Dude.
That
Hate that.
sucks.
Hate that.
So
any
it seems
any
like
leads
it's,
or any idea, any possibility?
yeah. Have you
of
seen
hiring?
anything pop up? Like if there's
Actually,
something you can
we
see
went.
pop up on Craigslist or something, you know,
We are
like go
looking
searching for it.
at Facebook. We are visiting local pawn shops. A couple of the neighbors caught it that morning on their door ring. And here's something for you folks out there that have these door ring things that is all great. It caught them leaving at 4:30 in the morning. It was a silver pickup following a red car. But here's the thing with these doors: you can't see a license plate.
Yeah, no, you don't get shit.
Like, wait, it's
Quality,
cameras, and they're
Wow.
gone.
complete shit.
That's sad.
That's a bummer.
It is what it is, and you know, maybe it was. I don't know. I've sat there and tried to think about all the if I had any bad karma coming to me, but I couldn't think of anything that bad. So I'm just looking at it like maybe it was time to let go of a lot of those memories that held some good
Fresh
memories.
start. Fresh
Negative
start.
Now
Yeah.
it's a fresh start. It's Brandy and I. Everything that we own now is Brandy and I. So it's not anything that either of us had to harbor. But there are some personal stuff
Yeah.
that we'd both like to have back, like the Oklahoma City bombing. I was there and I had all the taping. I've held on it for years and years and years. I was
Oh my gosh.
here to take to the memorial, and they got that too. So they have all the taping, the toys that I found when I was there at the bombing cleanup. So they got all that too. And it'll probably end up in a dumpster somewhere.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yep. Well, I'm
But
That is
sorry that happened to you, man.
some bullshit.
it is bullshit and it sucks, but Oklahoma is full, unfortunately, with a lot of people still strung out on meth, which is a horrible thing. But it's not as bad as what I saw when I was a kid here. So, I mean, apparently, but I don't know if that's what caused it. I still, if you want our personal opinion, to my opinion, to the neighbors, to the police and everything, the gentleman that came over and did the paint job that night, and we were leaving for the night with a full trailer, had something to do with that.
Yeah, I
Oh
mean,
shit.
first thing that jumped into my mind was like
The painter,
all the
the workers.
And the workers, I mean, the air conditioner person, the cleaning people were here. We got on our phone, you know, their name and profile picture thing. He was the only one we didn't have that on.
yeah. Half his workers are fucking
Police, they now call into the police. Well, due to the COVID virus, you know, I mean, we're sitting here 2 weeks and we still ain't heard back from a
Wow.
yet. We've been calling every day.
Well, that trailer's got a unique VIN number, so if it ever comes up for sale or anything else,
Tell you about that. Here's another funny part, Rick. All the
Oh
information
my god.
trailer in the car was in the back of the truck. Now, when you call the DMV nowadays to get the information for the license plate on the back of the trailer and everything, they're so busy due to the COVID virus, you get hung up on. So we've
Oh my
been
God.
calling and can't get a VIN number because they're too busy due to the COVID virus.
Wow.
that really is
This sounds like a
series of
perfect-
unfortunate events, like
This
Lemony
sounds
Snicket.
like a perfect opportunity to cook with weed.
I'm doing now. It's the perfect opportunity to eat with the weeds. The deal.
To eat
That's
with
why you have
weed.
such a positive attitude. Yes.
Freeze dried gummies will make you smile.
Yeah. Oh, Kirk, I'm sorry for that. You know, we've done some very good things in Michigan. There's got to be a lot of memories you have of your time up here. Share one or two of the really good times that you can recall from your days in activism in the state.
My favorite memory is probably, oh God, when we opened Third Coast, when Third Coast was first going down, and all the work that it put into that, and the line that went all the way around in downtown Ypsilanti, all the way to the police station.
Nice.
Nice.
That was the very first dispensary east of Colorado, and if my memory serves me correct, that was 2009 or 10. Is that right, Jamie?
9.
Yeah,
Nine.
9.
Right, 2009. So yeah, the other one would probably be when I won my very first High Times Cup there in downtown Detroit with the key lime cheesecake.
In 12, right?
2011,
11.
and that was right after hospital, spending 5 months in there after losing all my eyesight and that MS stuff. So that was a memory for me that I have many there in Michigan. We will be back there for Thanksgiving. and Christmas and things. And I still got things going on there for the Monroe Street Fair. We'll be back for. So I haven't abandoned Michigan. And the only reason we're not doing Dabaween, by the way, folks, is because
Dabaween.
hasn't lifted anything there, and I can't hold a party with 500-600 people. So that's the only reason Dabadoo is not happening.
Yep.
Now, let me coronavirus down here in Oklahoma compared to Michigan. It's very different. It's kind of like going up in northern Michigan. It's it's hit or miss as far as someone wearing a mask or wants you to some restaurants, but back home in Michigan, they don't have buffets, or you can't go to a buffet or anything like that. Well, you know how they fix that here in Oklahoma.
How'd they do it?
At the table and they bring you gloves.
Okay.
Big gloves, and that's how you go to the buffet and get your food.
But you don't have to wear a mask. You can breathe in the food.
They still bring you these gloves.
You gotta wear a mask for sure.
Oh, I was gonna say.
And not wiggle underneath that protective little,
Sneeze guard is what it's called.
Buffets are pretty gross. I'll do them.
Some
but
people
they're
wiggle up
pretty gross.
underneath those things.
I think sneeze guard since you got your mask to catch it, but I don't know,
Yeah.
So we went to a bar one night, the first night after everything happened to us to go relax and everything. We walk into the bar, and you all know how I feel about cigarettes. They're drinking, eating, and man, they're fully down smoking cigarettes, folks.
Wow.
You know what? I bucked it up. I tucked my hair under my, hat, so to say. I went and shot pool, had a great night, won 12 out of 15 games.
Nice.
And guys, so it was great. But the smoke didn't bother me that bad. We went on the other side of the club, tried to dance. They were playing rock and roll music. Wasn't really dance music, but we'll be back. But we got out, and got away from the house because, again, at that point in time, we didn't even have anything to sit on. So,
Oh my God.
things are different now. I mean, we were, really depressed. But again, I've had so many people come, her and her friends. We're good. It was tough. Don't get me wrong, but it was good.
Well,
I think
you're
made us closer and stronger. So, excuse me.
all those friends coming together is just the reward for a lifetime of good living, bud.
It's been a blessing, I'll tell you. I'm not going to get choked up on here like I'm probably going to do, but it's been a blessing. I got to tell you, I'm very grateful and thankful for the things and the people in my life in Michigan, which taught me many things, because when I come here to Oklahoma, everything that I learned in Michigan, kind of think of what Oklahoma was where we were in 2011, maybe 10, somewhere in that area. There's still learning on some. You got your really, really, really great growers, and then you got some over here, but they're all trying to figure out the metric system. And again, through everything that we've been through, we've been blessed in knowing some of that. So,
Do you still is it like an actual cheesecake, the key lime cheesecake? Is it like a medicated key lime cheesecake?
yes, ma'am.
And how many milligrams in a whole key lime cheesecake?
It depends on the patient or the request at that time. Usually it cuts up at the 20 slice. You've had them anywhere from 100 milligrams, 50 milligrams on up to 150 milligrams a slice.
A slice. Holy crap. And then, just out of curiosity, do you ship those? Like, in time for Thanksgiving?
You learn about Captain Kirk right after he moves out of the state.
Right.
Oh my
Your timing is
God.
terrible on that one.
You're so fucking.
ED cheesecakes, I believe, or non-medicated cheesecakes, or when my rear end comes back there for Thanksgiving, Brandy and I can whip you one up.
There you
Ooh,
go.
okay. That's the answer I was looking for. Something like that. Okay, great.
Nice. Yeah.
That sounds wonderful.
Leave
Man.
50 milligram cheesecakes.
Kirk, you
Nice.
mentioned that you're going to do an event coming up just in the next couple of days. What's the event scene like in Oklahoma? Are they restricted to indoor numbers and things like that as we are here in Michigan?
I don't know yet. This will be my first one to kind of step and walk into. I'm kind of excited. As far as numbers, no. No. If I would have had time and knowing it, somebody kind of wanted me to do a Dabaween, and I'm just kind of like, I don't have time for that. Right? Because again, it's so not that I didn't want to or think that I don't have, I just didn't have enough time to put it together. But The reason why I'm telling you that is because there was no restrictions on the amount of people or whatever happened. You know, that's why I was saying it's very different here.
Yeah.
As far as like the people I grew up and went with high school with, here's how they kids go to school. Maybe as they were telling me, one or two of them are wearing masks. Not many of them do. And the ones that end up with the coronavirus go home. They don't shut the school down. They quarantine them kids, but the school still keeps going. So that's kind of, you know, how it goes here in some of the places in Oklahoma. Not all of them, but for the ones I've seen so far.
Oh. I mean, everybody's got a different plan, but
they're like picking them
Well,
off.
The results will be in, and they either keep it going because it was working, or they have to peel it back because the numbers go up. Just, you know, that's what response should be.
Well, being from the South, you guys know how important football is, and football games are not being missed here on Friday nights and stuff like that. So,
Right, the high school football, people are fanatics about. I mean, it's huge. It's big in Michigan. Don't get me wrong, but like it's huge in Texas.
Texas, Oklahoma.
Friday Night Lights, baby.
yes, sir.
That's it.
Actually, that was all filmed about Texas, but Texas and Oklahoma all take that shit same serious. So,
Right.
Texas and Oklahoma talking football, you'll have a whole night radio show program right there. You might have to be.
I've been to a Texas high school football game like 10 years ago, and it was intense.
I'm sure.
No. Wow. Awesome. And you have a lot of opportunity there in Oklahoma. What kind of future prospects are we talking about? You know, 2,000-foot kitchen certainly gives you a lot of room to expand.
It does. I've been very extremely blessed on all of that. I'm extremely excited to see where all this is going. Right now, it's been kind of like a drain pinch. And Brandy herself has been able to walk into a wonderful opportunity, knowing all the things that she knows and being able to teach them. So with the two of us there has been kind of overwhelmingly nice. I went from having one freeze-dried machine now to having 14 of them, doubled my size. Especially in the size of the machine, they doubled the size of that. So I'll be operating 14 of those alone just in getting CBDs and soups around. So we have
it, man. That's really cool.
Tennessee and Florida too with the CB products. So we're just enjoying and riding the ride right now. And again, I've just been so blessed, and I've waited years and years for the right people. You guys know that, Rick and Jamie. You've saw me, and some of you other folks watching have waited patiently. And you know, there's been people that, you know, haven't had the right temperament to work with or anything like that, to finally the right group of people, a husband and wife team that get me and I get them, you know. And it's been amazing watching what they built and done again with it. And he's a veteran himself that not much of a consumer, but got into the growing side of it for his PTSD, and what he's done with that's been amazing.
Cool.
So most of everything that they do with their grow and everything, they give back to the veterans, and they go out and give free medicine to the veterans.
That is great.
That's a good story. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a good fit too for you.
It goes under the nonprofit Clones for Warriors. So they give out a lot of free clones and medication out to
Right on.
Nice.
For free.
Nice.
Is there a website that people can tune into if they're interested in Clones for Warriors, Kirk?
Actually being built right now.
Okay. Okay.
And
What
they're doing that. And also CaptainKirksEdibles.com is being worked on right now. I had to buy my own domain name back. That was interesting and fun.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's flattering, man.
Somebody made a nice chunk of dough.
Somebody knew, man. The day would come and you'd want that. And, you know.
Yeah. They were smart. I can't bitch about it. They were smart, you know.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, for you folks out there doing this, when you do that and you do buy your own domain name, think about it like this. When you buy the domain with all the other names, you know, do the misspelling like
.net, the .co, I know.
All traces back to that same domain, and just trust me, it'll save you a headache and do that.
Nice.
$2 a domain instead of $2,100, you know.
Right. So what are you primarily using to infuse the foods with?
Again, it depends on the patients and everything. I believe what we will be working with here is there's anything from isolates to the full spectrum distillates and stuff like that.
So is that organization that you're with is also going to produce those things, and then you're going to take those things and infuse them into the foods in the kitchen?
Well, yes, that is correct.
Nice.
And doing it all with their grow. So everything, as you know, there has to be tracked and everything. So the
Yeah.
greatest about all this is too, is strain specific, even for like Rick, I know you're familiar with the Mr. Stash. So we're able to take the Mr. Stash now and bring that into strain specific. So we can have a CBD, we can have a tea or an indica one over here, or a, you know, anywhere from blue dream to green crack, depending on whatever's working for that patient at that time.
Yeah,
Or
custom.
that cannabis.
That seasoning is an avenue that you can use to infuse foods that otherwise would be difficult to get medicine into, right? I mean, so the seasoning is actually significant when you're talking about medicating a dish.
And just that you can medicate almost anything that you're eating, anything savory that you're eating with that season.
Yeah, I have a question. Maybe you answered this while I was off for a second, but when you're making the seasoning, are you doing it with RSO? Or are you doing it with oils? Like how are you making? I mean, you don't have to give me the secret. I'm just wondering what's your starting point.
I couldn't really tell you all that, but think about this. If you were using an RSO and you clumped it into something like a powder like that, it's going to turn into clump balls and you wouldn't be able to get it out. You would not be able to just distribute that within your seasoning.
Right.
So that is not something you would want to use.
Okay.
Right. I'm just curious what you like to start. If you like to start with oils, or you like to start with flour, or like whatever. I've just been having a lot of these conversations lately about the best starting material.
If you were using ice cream, you wouldn't want to use Keith or something like that, for the reason why it would make it gritty and sandy. So you wouldn't use something like that. So again, it all depends on what you're making and how you're making it, temperatures. A lot of things vary on that because of the recipe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of Mr. Stash because Mr. Stash is something that it doesn't have sugar in it. You know, it might have a little salt or something, but it's for people who might be diabetic, I would imagine. And are you finding with COVID now, Kirk, is your clientele changing as far as asking for more healthier options instead of like cheesecakes and things like that? Are they looking for something just more beneficial for their health?
It's actually funny that you mentioned that. People are looking for something different. In the very beginning, you know, again, it was all sweets and everything. And I remember telling the doctor, you know, that kind of came down on me about it. He's like, look, you know, you can only eat so many brownies and cookies. And I was like, no, sir, there's so many other things that you can infuse and do with. And that's when he started to open his eyes because of the gastrologist I was talking to and started listening. But again, for diabetics, even like Tommy Chong, and then my first words out of my mouth when I met Tommy Chong wasn't hello or how are you? It was are you a diabetic? And the man looked at me, wow, man, why would you say something like that or ask me that? And I told him who I was and what I do. And because of asking that question, was able to get me to do things with him, you know, because he was a diabetic. So we started taking things like that and getting away from, you know, not that we still don't do the sugar side over, but we still wanted to look at the side for like the preppers or the people in Michigan there, like Andrew Summer and them that like to go out hiking and jogging with them, you know, and didn't want to carry great soups. So we started doing freeze-dried and coming up with things like that, and Nutri-Grain bars and sauces and stuff like that. And then Mr. Stash came from sitting in a hospital, and due to my heart and stuff, they always gave you those little packets of Mrs. Dash. Well, I kept thinking, you know, I want to turn that into something medicated, and that's where the whole Mr. Stash came along.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So you buy a bunch of Mrs. Dash and then mix it up with some cannabis.
And then adulterate it. Yeah. Okay.
We don't do like that because that's kind of the same people buying out. So, no, we actually use our own herbs and things like that, and we add the secret things to make it our own things like that. Now, the Jamaican blend that I have, that does come straight to me from Jamaica, and then we add a couple of extra things to make it ours. But for the most part of that recipe from the Jamaican blend comes straight from Jamaica. We have that shit from Jamaica.
Very nice.
And working
Are these
with
available in
It's
Michigan at
awesome.
all?
I'm sorry.
Are they available at provisioning centers in Michigan at all?
There are a few places up there at this moment. No, due to the legal thing right there, I couldn't afford to buy in all that. We are working with some processors out there that we'll be working with eventually. and make sure that we do it legal there and work on that part. But as of this moment, due to the laws and the provisioning centers and set up things, no, sir.
Okay.
Yep, you should set
So,
up
like-
a situation like Ryan Basor has done with Redemption Cannabis, where it's a licensing situation. Clearly, there are very few people in the state that have a reputation established over the decade we've been doing medical that really would translate well into the new industry. And Kirk, you're one of those 2 or 3 people.
Well, thank you for that. And I'm hoping so that eventually, maybe working over there at Third Coast or some other folks that we met there in Flint that we might work with, even all the way up to Al. Now, we'll see. It's just the right person and working with, as you guys have all learned, it's going to matter when it comes the right time.
Mhm.
But we definitely plan on being back in Michigan for sure. For sure. I love Michigan. I want to be back.
I like a lot of the stuff in the program in Oklahoma. There was on Medical Mondays a couple of weeks ago a farmer and processor from Oklahoma, robot farmer.
He grows
just-
robots.
Yeah.
Not very
And,
many pesticides needed. It's kind of a good crop.
Yeah. Anyway, his description of how people can get into the industry and the different conditions they need versus what we have here. There are some things that are much cooler in Oklahoma, and the ability for people to participate.
It is different. And again, like down here, and not that you'd need to, but if you wanted to make a 5,000 milligram chocolate bar, you could. The other thing about down here is you can grow as many plants as you want as long as it's facilitated within your building zoning. But there is no count on saying stop. You can't grow any more than this. No.
So now according to Robot Farmer, like some of the residency requirements have become a little more stiff just because of an influx of people that came there and got inexpensive licenses.
That is correct. But it was
Yeah.
also into the law for folks like me that grew up here and everything,
And that's cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah.
And so like somebody could, wherever they can grow reasonably, it could be their house, their property, and they get a license and the product meets the standards according to the state, it can be placed into the market.
Correct.
And somebody can get a license for somewhere, all things considered, for around like $3,200.
I think it's more around 5,000 if my memory serves me correct. But it's not like as expensive as Michigan was, no, sir.
Right. I
And
like
I
that.
just understand why they made it so high, and they kicked a lot of players out that had done it for a long time after they learned everything from us and we showed them how to do everything. And then it's like, well, we don't need you. We're going to kick you out. I thought that was very unfair of Laura, but that's my own opinion. Whether you agree with it or not, I did not like how that was done by them.
Well, of course, the licensing fees were set so damn high by the legislature, and that wasn't specifically intended to keep guys like everybody on this call from participating in the market, pricing it to the point where none of us could afford to get in, and then making restrictions on who qualifies to get in and who could be a player that meant most of the people that were in the gray market were excluded. Look at how Don Bailey chased us down and hunted us like foxes on a hound hunt.
And he was on the board.
Oh,
They put him on there to do that.
Never forget him sitting there going, Captain Kirk, I saw you pushing your little ice cream pops out there at the ice cream or the High Times Cup, pushing your little cart. And he looks at me and says, "What? You don't think we watch Facebook?" I know.
Such a turd, man.
I
I
know.
haven't heard about him in a while.
Yeah,
I
well,
had an encounter with him up north last fall or winter or something.
Yep, we did. The fact is that Michigan chased a lot of people away in order to pursue their dream, Kirk. You're not the first one that had to leave the Great Lakes state in order to find their happy.
well, the sad thing is, but we opened the door for those people and we showed them everything, and they got lied to us like a typical politician. And again, that's why I'm not big on politicians whatsoever.
That's how so many businesses and companies have treated us too.
Yeah. And now look at all these little mom and pops that were surviving off that little extra income. You know, they weren't driving Bentleys and getting new homes or anything. They were living off, you know, supplementing their income and getting their stuff. And now they don't have that anymore. And it's going to be taken away from them due to the caregiver thing. And I got to tell you, that's pretty sad and sickening to watch because a lot of these older folks are going to suffer because of that.
We've discussed it on a couple of different programs, Medical Mondays, and on this program too, about our concerns that the commercial cannabis industry is going to not produce the high quality medical grade strains that are needed by patients, but necessarily may not be the best yielder or the best dollar per square foot producer in a commercial cannabis garden. We're worried that there are people out there who have medical needs that are going to go unfulfilled because the caregiver system suffers through that mechanism.
That is true. And then a lot of these people buying that crap up there, that so-called medical, it's just nothing but burnt laser proof crap. I'm sorry. It's just, I can't believe these dispensaries are pumping some of the things. Not all of them. Don't get me wrong. There's some good stuff out there, but for the most part, that stuff coming out of dispensaries is junk. You and I both know that for medical. It's burnt junk. It's just, and they don't know how to grow it. And again, they came to us people, the caregivers and all of us in this industry, wanting to know how to do it. And then when they thought, well, we know everything, well, we don't need you and we'll get rid of the caregivers. And then there was a shortage again. And then, oh, we'll bring back the caregivers because we don't know what we're doing yet. And you still don't know what the hell you're doing yet. And the caregivers are kind of like, now, I don't want nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Well, certainly the
Kirk,
systems go ahead.
I was just going to say, talking about the medical side of it, people are making things that are distillates now. So you're getting CBD and THC, but we don't have, a THC system. We have an endocannabinoid system, and we need all those endocannabinoids to fulfill that system within us for homeostasis, as some people think. And, what's your opinion on that? Are you cooking with full spectrum, or do you do a little bit of both? And don't you think it's important that we keep that entire plant together and put it into things?
With what you said, it also depends on the patients and who I'm working for and what I'm making at that time, specifically for that person. I do believe in the full spectrum stuff, but you got your folks out there that just clearly patients that just want to get high instead of taking their pain pills. Some of them want to go to sleep. Some of them want something uppity upper to keep them up through the day. Again, it just depends on the person, what they're going through. And that's where it got skipped out as far as a lot of the caregiver thing, patient to patient, was sitting down and talking about, hey, what's wrong with you? What's going on with your endocannabinoid system? Does this strain work for you? Have you even used a strain? Have you even had RSO before? Do you even know what Rick Simpson oil is? Do you know what it's made with? Do you know what solvent that individual made that with? If they did use alcohol, are they a recovering alcoholic? I know these are all minute sounding things, but these are very important things to be asking people, because that's very extremely important to know these things. And that's where it got lost from my
it's so important.
It's going into a dispensary and you got this punk back behind there. Not all of them, but you got people sitting behind there that don't know anything about the industry. They don't smoke weed. They don't know anything about it. Hey, I had $1 million drop in. I'm getting into this because I can make some money. Well, and now they're finding out it doesn't work for them because they're sitting behind the counter looking like a fool.
Sometimes people treat these things as if it's a Starbucks transaction. And I can appreciate that the knowledge that you're talking about there, Kirk, is something that's accrued over years of exposure. You can't have a weekend, 10-hour video seminar and learn all of that stuff. You really can't. In the old days, people would select the cannabis distribution center, the dispensary they went to, based on how knowledgeable the bud tender was. People would bypass other kind of fly-by-night places to go to the place where they knew they could talk to somebody and actually get the straight shit.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Or by quality. That was another really important thing, And again, I really ask people, if you are doing the RSO treatment, again, I have nothing against it, but you do need to know what solvent that's being made with. And you do need to know if it's made with Napa. You need to know if it's made with Everclear, or if it's made with propane, or if it's made from some dude going down to Ace Hardware and getting paint thinner. And believe me, guys, as stupid and sick as that may sound, it does happen.
Well, do you prefer paint thinner or the naphtha?
Actually, I prefer the, what was his name?
Mick Shane?
No, I was thinking of what's his name from Below. I was trying to be funny, but never
Austin
mind.
George?
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, no. Well,
But
and
things it's different. I do miss home and the way things are done. As far as like back home, we have the and I'm not knocking them because I love them, the farmers market system kind of thing, so to say. They don't have that up here. They've never heard or seen anything like that.
Kirk, hold up that dab cloth that you've got in front of you that's got your logo on it, that your arm's resting on. Yeah, that's it. That's the logo. That's the Captain America shield. Now I see it, man. Now I see it.
I mean,
Yeah.
the logo they ripped off from the Pistons.
Oh no, he explained that to you. So Kirk,
What's
you're in
that?
Oklahoma now. Cows, right? Cows.
Oh,
And
I'm
actually,
not gonna want measures
what
for
part
local
about
here.
Oh, yeah.
we did have that trademark nationwide, so I'm good to go on the logo.
But
Any,
lots of.
you,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Rick.
No, I'm just going to make a funny about cows in Oklahoma. There's Kirk, cows, right? Cows.
Out
Okay,
there.
and I was going to ask him if he's been out tipping. So there you go. Equally as stupid.
Well, now that mushrooms are legal in Ann Arbor, I mean, I can teach them here.
True.
Right.
Yeah. You don't need any medium there.
As far as now, let me tell you something. As far as back home, you guys thought we had dispensaries there. Yeah. There's probably not a block or two that you can drive in Oklahoma without seeing a dispensary.
Now, is that statewide or just in certain cities that allow that business?
I haven't ventured out more. I can only speak for the area that I've seen, but as far as Oklahoma City, Edmond, all the surrounding part of Oklahoma City, yeah, it's pretty crazy. But a lot of them aren't open because of, let me go back to the coronavirus. So a lot of them have ended up closing and failing because of, and again, I'm not smiling due to that, but I'm just sick of hearing the coronavirus as an excuse for everything. But anyway, a lot of them have not survived or made it because of that. So
Isn't that attributed, I mean, really to competition? If they're packed in as numerously as you're talking about, I don't know any business that could survive if there was 5 of the exact same business on the same block,
it's pretty, again, you're right. It depends on the flower and stuff. I haven't really went in to visit any of them to speak or to say. The one or two that I've been in last time I was here, I wasn't all that impressed. But there are some very nice ones here. I mean, there are some big reputable ones that eventually we will be working with through the people that I work with, buying the products and stuff like that. So I'm interested in meeting these people and hopefully this weekend have a small introduction I'm looking forward to.
Well, more distribution centers means more market for a processor's highly in-demand product. So this sounds like a good environment for you to jump off into, bud.
It's been a great environment. Like I said, I've been very blessed. I couldn't say more. And again, it's a lot of stuff I all learned from Michigan. So I'm very proud of my Michigan roots and everything I learned. And then the things that I haven't learned or don't know, or using my street sides of knowledge compared to a business side of knowledge and not knowing, that's where Brandy has came in and taught me a whole lot of things that I didn't know, and still being educated and going to college. And here she is over here.
There she is. Hi.
There
Hi,
she
guys.
is.
Hello, Brandy.
So she's been a trooper. She's made it through all this and still smiling and still loving me. So
It was a good test.
we're doing good.
And Brandy, you're going to be doing things in the industry there as well?
Yeah, so most of my focus thus far has kind of been helping with their marketing on their end, getting them into more dispensaries, and then looks like it's going to be compliance. They're just now entering the metric and they're totally lost. None of them have a clue. They got a lot of the same laws. They have to have their stuff transported, but a lot of these facilities buy their own transport license. So you can buy it for $2,000 and transport your own stuff. It doesn't have to be locked. You just have to have a manifest form.
It's another thing I like about Oklahoma more than Michigan too, by the way.
Yeah, well, and like you guys were saying earlier, it's really cool. I mean, they opened up the whole market. So just as you were saying, if you have the land and you're able to get zoned to grow on that land, you can. So there's lots of people that just have big barns, like they were doing in Michigan. And they just set them up to be compliant with the state. Now they'll have to buy into Metric, but they had to buy into another program they were using anyway. They still tracked it. It just wasn't like tag numbers and things like that didn't matter as much, where now that kind of stuff is going to really, but yeah, anybody can get into the market that way. The problem with that is it is flooded and there is a lot of garbage. So unfortunately, there's not a lot of good time. There's a lot of unknowledgeable bud tenders. Just as he was saying, here it's really bad. It's like taking us back to when we first started back in 2010 and nobody knew anything and was just kind of slanging the weed. That's kind of what it's like here. They just stand around. Everybody looks like a hippie in some sense. Nobody has any real knowledge. So,
And I wouldn't say not nobody, just the folks that we've encountered so far. So I'm sure there are some.
You got 300 dispensaries. I would say 25% of them are doing well out of it.
I thought the number of tattoos on your arm dictated how much you know about cannabis. Isn't that the way they hire bud tenders in Oklahoma? That's how we do it up here.
I mean, sometimes that's what they think.
For growers.
Oh, okay. All right.
Everybody master grower. Remember, I don't have any tattoos. I'm screwed.
I know some smart bud tenders with some arm tattoos, Rick Thompson.
No, certainly that's true. But oftentimes people look at someone and they evaluate what their cannabis experience has been just by looking at them. If they look like they just dropped out of the police academy, you might look at them and think, you don't know a damn thing about cannabis. Who the hell are you trying to do? But by the same token, if you've got dreads and smelly and you've got a couple of teardrops over here, then of course your shit is really good, right? So that's the perception a lot of people have when they do hiring in the cannabis industry.
Yeah, they have the same, a lot of, even when they're out, they really just don't have a real good concept of relationships and how to properly go into the facilities and get this stuff sold. And here they actually have they have the same, they require terpene testing for all their flower on top of just potency testing, because you guys were talking about how everybody's just using distillate and it's kind of like taken away from all the other cannabinoids and stuff. Well, that's one thing I admire about here is they do require a little bit more testing. However, it doesn't cost as much. So it's only $250 for your whole shit and shebang versus the $500 it is there. And you'd only have to have a quarter for each batch. That might change now with the metric and whatnot, but as of right now, they're only requiring like a quarter of everything that you have in order to test it. Only like a batch of like 7 pieces of edibles, and it's pretty lax in that sense.
But they come in and pick it out, so.
Yeah, they come in and they pick it out, and so it's pretty fair as far as that's concerned.
I like what Jim said. He said you don't have a THC system, you have an endocannabinoid system. So we really do have to play to the whole plant thing, and medibles are really one of the opportunities you have to do that. You can increase terpene count, you can add additional terpenes to, compensate for whatever may have been lost through a processing, process. So
we do know a couple of people that actually are affiliated with cannabinoid scientists and tinctures, and they do THCA, they do full spectrum. We just really got a good connection as far as that's concerned, to make sure that we can produce more wide variety of
full spectrum
edibles along with the isolates and things of that nature. But that is a common goal of ours. And like he was saying, we're trying to segue more into usable things that people use every day or that could discreetly take around, where people aren't going to say, hey, did you just pop, some cannabis? The soups, we're kind of honing in on those, and we're making them more consumer friendly as far as you can eat the entire thing of soup. His soups were so medicated, some people could take 3 bites and just be on the floor. So we were like, well, that's kind of a waste. The poor person just ate 3 bites and now their whole cup of soup is gone. So we're doing, 10, 25, 50, and 100 milligram cups of soup. So if you need that stronger dose, you can get that with the 100 milligrams. But if you can only handle 10 milligrams, you can still eat your cup of soup and get the proper dose as if you were eating, you know, a little square of a gummy or something along those lines.
We were talking about raw cannabis juicing on Medical Mondays last night. Is that something that's allowed in Oklahoma? And if so, would you be interested in doing something like that for packaging?
100% and 100%. Yeah, that's one of the things really cool about Oklahoma is they don't have any real restrictions on what it is that we can produce. So, I mean, they're doing slushy machines here. You can go get on a hot day, you can go get a medicated slushy. A lot of facilities got in trouble because they weren't smart about how they were doing it. They basically weren't getting the batches tested and then putting those tested batches into the machines and then saying every 12 ounces is this many milligrams and printing the sticker. They were just willy-nillying it, but that's all the state wanted. So they're basically saying to us, hey, we don't care what you do. We just want to make sure that you're labeling the product properly based on the test results. And that's easy enough to do as long as you're doing that. So we've really, like I said, we've been delving pretty big into thinking outside the box. Everybody's doing gummies, everybody's doing cookies, everybody does brownies, everybody does hard candies. What can we do? You know, and he's got a lot of products that he's won the Cannabis Cup with that we've never been able to get on the shelves. So we're really looking forward to bringing the sugar-free what are those, truffles and key lime truffles and the Buckeyes, and we're actually going to make Buckeyes to give away at the non-medicated, unfortunately, because we have to wait until our license is all
Make sure it's all there.
yeah,
It's there,
ready
just
to go.
making sure.
Well, we can't sell anything yet until they inspect it. So once they inspect the kitchen and everything, then we're good to go to sell products out of it. But until then, we're stuck. So we decided, well, we'll just give away non-medicated versions of our products and do kind of like a coming soon to, you know, dispensaries near you. So
Because one of the biggest things I strive for is not making my edibles taste like cannabis. And it's not because I don't like cannabis or anything, but I just wanted things to taste like normal food. So when we pass these edibles, it tastes just like this, but it'll be medicated. So
yeah, one for the freeze pops. We've never been able to get those on the shelf. The first we can actually, they can have a freezer and they can sell the freeze creams. Do the ice cream like ice cream instead of freeze dried, and we can do the freeze dried versions as well.
for
So,
the preppers and those that are doing, you know,
yeah, or
going on
just a commodity of it. It's fun.
Very cool. That's good strategies. The list keeps growing of the things I like about what's going on in Oklahoma.
Sloppy Joe's freeze dried are pretty cool, guys. You can take it and you can do just like a Sloppy Joe freeze dried, open it back up a couple months later, put about a tablespoon of hot water on it, and you got your instant Sloppy Joe right there, bro.
And what do you use like squirrel for that?
Black squirrels,
black
eyes,
squirrel.
man. Michigan.
Very neat.
Brown
He's
squirrel.
in Oklahoma that you said that. That's rude. Wow, man.
Possums sometimes.
So you actually do freeze dry the beef for it, for the Sloppy Joe? Wow, okay.
Yeah. Nice. You know, I
What
mean,
do they call
less of-
the
go ahead,
MRE
Berg.
or whatever?
You say, Berg?
Meal ready. What? You know, they have them for soldiers and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
what do they call those?
MREs. We're
Rations?
working MREs, and even hopefully be talking to the military about that.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's everything is opened up. Like I said, I've been very blessed, and
Well, I mean, you may be an excellent cannabis chef, but the opportunity to market foods goes beyond just the cannabis consumer. And if you're able to do freeze drying and things like that in a way that people enjoy, then you really have expanded your market well beyond. I mean, let's face it, a ton of people use cannabis, but now you're talking about a whole different group of potential consumers, and that just multiplies your success potential.
we've even figured out how to freeze dried bananas and strawberries without, you know, just regular old bananas. Nothing added, nothing.
Just about anything that's water based or meat or anything could be freeze dried. It's kind of cool. And then we were just thinking, the more things that you can think about, what are those things that we could medicate, people could bring back home and repurpose. Some things you can't, like the medicated gummy bears and stuff like that. That's a commodity type thing. The Skittles, those aren't going to turn back into Skittles, but there's a lot of foods that turn right back into the food they were before they were freeze dried.
Like
And
carrots
that's really
and potatoes
things that we're
and stuff
trying
like
to
that.
capitalize on so that people can take home and make a meal. If you want to take home some carrots and potatoes, and if you didn't know, mashed potatoes that are in a box are just freeze dried potatoes. So we're already on the way with a few things there, but
And we've also been working on protein drinks since we've been able to freeze dry stuff. So
Yeah,
be able to take
protein
the
drinks
powder
are
and just
sweet.
pour into the milk and stuff like that, or whatever it is before you go work out in the morning. And
we had a lot of requests. Like, people would think that the Midnight Roots bars, the way that he was marketing them, were like actual milkshakes. So people would like literally be like, how do you do that milkshake? How do I buy a milkshake? And so him and I got to thinking, like, what could we do to bring people a milkshake, in a sustainable way? And we're onto that as
All the boys love a milkshake.
yeah,
well.
it's been nice when they finally have a kitchen and turned me loose in it and said, here, discover things, figure out what you want to do. I was like, all right, this has been great. So it's been like a little kid in a chocolate factory, kind of, my
Very
dream.
nice.
Been great.
Well, you've had a smile on your face throughout the whole interview, even when we were talking about some of those negative things that happened to you once you arrived in Oklahoma. And I just know that you guys are going to have a great future ahead of you and a positive success in that state, because you're just walking into it with such a great attitude.
I want to clear up one thing real quick, just to make sure if I offended anyone with the Black Squirrel Lives thing. That had to do with Big Al up there when we went up there, and it had nothing to do with the moment or anything. It's just when we went up there and we saw the black squirrels, red squirrels, gray squirrels, and we were all laughing about how they mattered. So anyway, if anyone took offense to that, I did not mean any racial way or anything. It was just a joke that came. So if anyone was offended by that, I did not mean that. And
That's cool. I'm sure there's probably some people that appreciate you clarifying that.
The
But,
squirrel attorney is no longer writing you a letter. He's now decided not to do that anymore.
be careful what you say nowadays. It's very it's different. It's different nowadays. It's definitely different. Even coming back home to hear some of the old lingo in it, it's different. I'm just saying it's different. So again,
It's called the cancel culture. The cancel culture.
I like it. That's quite good.
Yeah,
I'm not,
and you have to walk a very thin line to make sure that you don't offend. And although we might not necessarily think that that's the right way to live, it is the way to stay in business and not have your reputation ruined by just a casual misstep. Jamie will tell you that a casual misstatement by Dr. Bob up at the Holistic Healing Center has really caused him a whole lot of trouble. He made a really bad statement after a guy was found dead on his property, and
very insensitive. Yeah. Did you hear
it
about
was
that?
insensitive, and now he's paying a heavy price.
yeah,
Did
that
you
was,
hear
I heard
about that
about
down
it.
there, Kirk?
do
Kirk,
what?
Did you hear? Did you hear about that?
I've
Dr.
heard bits
Bob?
of it. That's just that all the way around for however it went down.
Yeah. So, but you have to be careful at what you say, especially if you're a business owner. If you have people that depend upon you, if you make an indiscretion, you got to own it. You can't run from it anymore like you used to be able to.
That's true. And yeah, so again, that's true.
Yep.
But I miss Michigan, and for everybody out there doing your thing, I'm still proud of you. I know there's a lot of people that were not able to get into the licensings that have not gave up and still taking care of patients, and I just want those people to know I salute you for still carrying on and doing what you're doing to make sure that those patients are still getting their medication. Because look, man, I'm not knocking dispensaries, and I get it, because here's the reason why I like dispensaries. And again, I do business with them. For the main reason, from a street guy who liked dispensaries, here's my main reason. I know that 7 days a week during this time and this time here, I can get medication. Now, can I afford that medication? Well, that's something different I got to play with and figure out. But I know no matter what that I can always get medication. I don't have to call somebody up and wait at Walmart and they end up showing up because they had to wait for their kid or whatever may have happened, you know, and still not get my medicine and wait for the next day and sometimes still not happen and get it then because your hookup didn't show up or whatever. So I get the point of dispensaries, but some of the prices, you know, and I've seen some of these older folks, the older folks who really need their medication can't afford those prices. So they've actually had to turn to the black market, so to say. What am I looking for? Farmers market kind of thing. And that's why I find those very important. And I hope that they don't do away with caregivers in the system like that. And some of those things that are implemented and some of those places that are being used and utilized by patients, I hope those never go away, or at least find a way to work with them and let them sustain and do their business, because I think that's the only way some of these patients can get to their medicine. Whether the dispensaries agree with that or not, I can't help that side of it. But I'm just saying that there's people that could not get their medication if it was not for those places.
Well said.
So I hope they leave them alone and let them operate, or find some way to work with them without being overtaxed or overrated like they did to kick people like us out. You know what I'm saying? So, and how's the micro thing going back there, Rick? Are people utilizing that, the micro license? Is that being utilized by a lot of people? Is that still happening?
We got our friend Scott Roberts was on Jazz Cabbage the other day and said that the very first, I'm sorry, was it?
Up north, the first one up north.
Yep, very first one
Yeah.
received a license. Yeah,
There'll be more to follow, but that's a slow one.
that's a slow rollout. It's 2020, and those license types were created in 2018. So
And they didn't require the previous having an MMFLA license either.
which
So
meant
they had
that
to yeah, go ahead.
so they just started issuing those licenses in December of 2019. So it's been less than 12 months, but still, what that makes it like 8 months, 9 months. So that's a long time before issuing a single license.
Some communities are opting in on a lot of the activity, but excluding the micro opportunities for whatever their reasons are. So
You know what? I forgot. You're right.
it's a slow
Question
one.
is, yeah, I know it hadn't been a long time, but all the taxes there that have been raised off the cannabis and like the clubs that first opened up recreational, all that money that was made in the taxes that went off that, what's the state done with all that money? I mean, I haven't seen one of those damn roads fixed or anything. So where have all those taxes gone off the cannabis? Are they somewhere?
The House of Representatives in Michigan passed a bill to give $17 million out of the cannabis fund to the general fund in the state of Michigan, which would be one of those payments towards roads and teachers and things like that too. Now, recognize that there's two different funds. One that comes from patient and caregiver fees. That's not what was tapped. What was tapped was the overpayment of licensing fees for the recreational and for the MMFLA programs. So that was where they still left themselves like $7 million in the bank. So they gave a big chunk and they still got a lot of operating budget left.
When it comes to the MRTMA, that hasn't kicked in yet. First couple of years, up to $20 million go towards research for veterans of PTSD. And then when the excise tax starts getting distributed, it's 35% goes to roads. It's not going to be the difference of fixing all the roads. There'll be some consistent good money coming in for it, but the type of money that's needed for that is not what this is going to generate.
There's also like this old law that like says that every mile of road gets like the same funding, and it's really just I don't know, it screws up the southeast Michigan really bad, because like our 1 mile might have 4 lanes or 8 lanes, you know. So there's a lot of legislation.
Width is not considered, sounds like.
Girth is not a factor in that formula.
You look at the taxing and you hope it's going to go to roads. Like you hope that people spending money on lottery tickets is going to go to schools.
Right.
I don't see that improving. So I don't know. Transparency is definitely good when it comes to this stuff.
And also, 1 mile of paved road, one lane, is worth $1 million to like set it up and everything, all materials and workers and everything. Was what I was told at some point. So
$1 million a mile? That seems like a
yeah,
very easy to figure formula.
yeah. So 17 million ain't far.
17 miles.
Well, and again, they took that from there to put into the general fund. Who knows what they're going to use that for? As Jamie mentioned, those specific, allocations won't come in. Although they have been collecting tax dollars now for several quarters from legalized facilities. They started licensing them in December. It's now the 9th month of 2020, so they've had 9 months of solid transactions to be able to have tapped into.
Wow.
Yeah, and for the first couple of years, that goes to the veterans research and stuff.
It makes sense that they would hold all of that until after the end of the first fiscal year of operation, and then make the cash gifts at that point. So I'm sure all of that, the 10% excise tax money is in a separate account. You know how bean keepers are, or bean counters are. They've always got everything in a row. So
Dirty politicians out of Detroit and everything come up missing. I'm just wondering if this is going to come up missing too. So, or
that's
be an investigation over where the money went, and that'll cost more money. So I'm like, come on, people, do some good with it, please. I don't care. Just do some good with it. So,
Hey, Kirk was around for the very early days of the MMMA. Remember, and all the dramas that were unfolding with all that stuff.
I sometimes tell the story. My first time coming to Third Coast, you were in the back hallway with a paint roller in your hand, rolling that sloping walkway that went down to the music room that we had.
I remember. That's funny.
Yeah.
Man, a long time. Yeah, guys, we've been around this for a long time, and I just hope a lot of people don't get left out. And it is sad, and Rick, you brought it up earlier, a lot of people have had to leave in order to fulfill their dreams in this industry. Certainly not a place, and I'm glad to be back home in Oklahoma. This is my state I grew up in. My son's about 3 hours from me now, my granddaughters, who I haven't got to see yet, but that'll be worked out soon. But, it wasn't, 10 years ago, the girl that got arrested here and spent 5 years for a roach. I would have thought Oklahoma would last place to go with it. So it's been very creepy to come back home and now see things the way they are compared to where when I was younger. And it was the main reason I left Oklahoma, because cannabis here was, you're the devil, you're in the Baptist state. No, you can't be smoking marijuana. And, you're going to go to prison or jail or die. So I left.
Yeah, those are not good choices, the three you just laid out. No.
No. I was more scared of the Southern Baptist than I was the jail or the death one, to tell you. But
that's what they want you to be. That's the culture they create. So yes, that's control.
We're rolling a little bit longer than typical. So anything you want to make sure you impart to us before we move on for the last few minutes and end the show, Kirk?
just God bless you folks there in Michigan. Keep doing what you're doing. I thank you for all this positive support that I've gotten from Michigan, for Brandy and myself through everything that's happened. Again, all I can tell you folks back home listening is it made us stronger. It made things happen for us I couldn't believe. There was a gentleman we all know, and I'm not even going to bring up the name, that made a comment about what happened to us here. That was probably one of the most devastating things that I personally have went through or heard that happened because of the way it affected Brandy. I hope that individual can find some peace somewhere in his heart and get over that. That was probably one of the sickest things I can say. But anyway, or heard. But for the rest of Michigan, thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for everything you've done. I look forward to being back soon. And again, for you folks that have wondered about Dab-A-Wiener, Dab-A-Doo, it wasn't that I skipped out of Michigan and left all that stuff. It was because the state won't allow me now. All the money that was raised to throw those events are still there. All those venues were paid for. But until the state says, hey, you can have 500 people and party down, Captain, I can't do that. So just to let everybody know, that's how that's happening. And the first call I get that says, hey, it's lifted and 500 people can be in one spot, you know me, party time. So
That's a story for other large annual events on hold.
Yeah.
So you're not alone with that. We'll check in a few weeks, see what's going on. And as I said, I'll talk to you outside of this in the next day or two and see about getting you a replacement ukulele, since I know that was one of the most important things that was taken in the trailer.
Yeah, we're just going to keep hitting. If anybody on Facebook sees anything like that, or, you know, the ukulele with Tommy Chong and Cheech signed on there, all those High Times posters I had done in real nice frames. We got all the receipts for them and everything, so we're able to turn those into the police. But yeah, we're just going to keep going to stuff and hoping we can come across something.
Damn.
And if we don't, you know, for the most part, again, we've rebuilt and we're doing fine. You know, we're going to make it through. So I've had an amazing group of people I'm working with and friends back home. They're in Michigan, and friends here that I grew up with my teenage years. And again, that's why I'm smiling. I'm just so blessed of everyone I couldn't say thank you enough for everything that's happened. So it's been a blessing, a real blessing, and all the help that I've gotten back there. And Jamie's going to send me a ukulele, and then you'll know I'll be sitting out here in Oklahoma playing a ukulele, telling my story.
Nice. Well,
And
we're definitely gonna.
You can't tell a sad story while playing a ukulele. You just can't do it. It's a happy instrument.
Guy my size, you know, and you're 260 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal. How can you go wrong, you know?
Can't go wrong. Hey, thanks a lot, Kirk, and we'll be checking in soon, and I'll talk to you relatively soon too. Really appreciate it, man. I'm glad that you have that going on. You really deserve it. Thanks a lot, man.
And I appreciate that. And yeah, we're working hard. I'll keep you guys informed and tell you more.
Thanks, man.
Take care.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Yeah.